Welcome back, artists. Today we're going to talk about texture. We are going to be using scraps of vinyl for our texture. So I have gone and picked out 3 colors that I want to use. I've also decided that I'm going to do this triangle. It's important that you consider how many details you have because vinyl is a little bit tricky. So I would encourage you to pick a triangle that doesn't have a whole lot of detail in it. So that is one of the reasons why I'm going to do this. And I want to show you some ways that you can do it to make it easy. So the first thing I want to do is start on this back shape here. I've decided I want to do this purple color, and I'm going to line this up. I'm using one of the edges to start, so then it is easier for me, one less thing for me to cut. So I'm going to line this up, and then a trick that you can do is you can fold this over. So essentially I'm folding this into the triangle shape that I'm using. I want to crease this pretty good with my finger, and then that creates a line on the vinyl that you can cut on, and it just stays long enough so that you can cut, and then it sort of disappears. I want to make sure that I cut it the length that I need. Yep, that's probably good. So now I have 2 edges that line up for my shape. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here, line it up with the line. I'm going to crease it, and then I'm going to open it up and cut the shape. So I've now created this triangle that I will need for my piece. I'm not going to need the whole thing, but I now have a triangle that fits this space. Now my job is to figure out how this can fit. Now this is a little bit tricky because it's not a straight line. I could kind of just guesstimate where this drawing is, or another trick that I've learned is that if you go over this with pencil, nice and dark, where this line is, and then I put my piece on the line here, and then I rub maybe with the end of my scissors where that line is, that's going to transfer that line onto the back. This, of course, only works if you have a light back. I think most of these all have a lighter back, so you would see the pencil line. But that is a way that I can cut this to size. So now I have my shape. Another thing I can do is just take a piece of copy paper, and I can set it on top of my drawing. Again, I'm going to use the edge to my advantage, and I'm going to draw the other side of the triangle, and then I'm going to draw, I'm following the line that I can see here to make the curve of the paint palette, and then I want to also outline where this circle is so that I can do that as well. This is the texture that I want to use for the palette. So if I go back to my pattern and I cut out this line and then my curve, so this is the shape that I want to have, but I don't necessarily want to draw on the front of it because then I'm going to have a line. So a better idea would be to flip this over and flip your pattern over so you don't see the lines, and then use that as the shape to cut. And even though I have a circle inside here, I am going to keep that circle in there, and then I will just put the circle on top when I cut that out. So this is another way for you to get your pieces to fit. So now I have these 2 pieces fitting. The last thing I need is my circle. So if I, again, use my pattern, cut it out. I'm going to flip this over so I can draw on the back. I want to make sure the pencil side is down. I'm going to use the edges of my vinyl to my advantage to make it a little bit easier, less for me to cut. And I'm going to trace around it with a pencil. And then when I cut this out, I will be all set to glue my shapes on. I know that the vinyl can be a little bit trickier, but these are just some tips that I have learned from other sixth graders about how you can do this. So then this would get glued on top of here, and these all would be glued down. You will notice when you glue, this doesn't lay completely flat, right? So I'm going to put some glue down, and I just need to put glue on the edges. I'm gonna flip it over, and then I'm gonna want to count to at least 10, right? And see what it looks like. Okay, it still is curving up a little bit, so maybe I wanna hold it a little bit more, or maybe I just glue all these down. And then while I am thinking about my next triangle, I just put maybe my binder on it to hold it flat so that it will dry how I want it to. So then if I put a weight on top of here, leave it for a few minutes, hopefully it will flatten down. And then you're set, voila, texture is done.